Every animal on Earth communicates. Bees dance to describe the location of flowers. Elephants rumble at frequencies too low for humans to hear. Wolves howl. Dolphins whistle. Chimps gesture and scream. Communication is ancient. Communication is everywhere. But language is different. No other species on Earth can tell you what happened yesterday, warn you about something that doesn't exist yet, or describe a feeling they've never actually experienced out loud. No other animal can lie about the past, argue about invisible concepts, or build an entire god out of nothing but words. Language didn't just change what humans could say, it changed what humans could think. And the strangest part is this: nobody invented it. There was no first word, no genius primate who sat beside a fire one night, pointed at a rock, and decided to call it something. Language didn't emerge from a plan. It emerged from something far more accidental, far more gradual, and far more deeply tied to survival than most people ever realize. And understanding how it happened reveals something genuinely unsettling about what you think of as your own private thoughts. Let's start with a fact that makes evolutionary biologists uncomfortable. The difference between a chimpanzee and a human isn't just intelligence, it's anatomy. Somewhere between 6 and 2 million years ago, the human vocal tract began changing. The larynx, the organ that produces sound in your throat, slowly descended lower down the neck. This change looks minor until you understand what it actually created. A lowered larynx formed an entirely new chamber in the throat, a resonating space capable of producing a staggering variety of sounds. Far more than any other primate. But it came with a lethal cost. Unlike every other mammal on Earth, humans can choke to death on food. Your airway and your food pipe cross at a dangerous intersection in your throat. A seal can swallow fish underwater without drowning. You cannot eat a large piece of meat too fast without risking your life. Evolution accepted that trade, deliberately, which means that producing complex sounds became more important to human survival than simply not dying at dinner. But a sophisticated throat doesn't create language on its own. Parrots have extraordinary vocal systems. They just imitate. Language requires something else entirely. It requires a brain that assigns meaning to sound, and then somehow convinces every other brain nearby to agree on the same meaning, across an entire group, across generations, invisibly. So how did that begin? In the 1990s, a British anthropologist named Robin Dunbar proposed something that sounds almost too simple to be true. Language, he argued, was essentially just grooming. Not grooming as in haircuts, grooming as in the social behavior that primates spend hours performing on each other every single day. Chimps pick debris from each other's fur for enormous stretches of time. It isn't really about hygiene, it's about trust. Physical grooming releases endorphins in both animals, it reinforces alliances, soothes aggression, and builds the kind of loyalty that keeps a group from tearing itself apart. The problem is that grooming is one-on-one. You can only pick through one animal's fur at a time. And as human groups slowly grew larger, that system started failing catastrophically. Imagine needing to physically touch 50 different people every week just to keep your social bonds alive. You would spend your entire life doing nothing else. You couldn't hunt, you couldn't sleep, your group would starve maintaining its own relationships. Dunbar's theory: language evolved as grooming at a distance. Words allowed humans to bond with multiple people simultaneously. You could reassure 3 people with a single sentence. You could signal loyalty across a campfire. You could broadcast a warning about someone who'd betrayed the group to everyone at once. This is sometimes called the gossip hypothesis, which sounds trivial until you realize that gossip is genuinely extraordinary. To gossip, you must be able to describe people who aren't present. You must discuss intentions, motives, trustworthiness, and past behavior as abstract concepts. That requires a level of symbolic thought no other animal achieves. Language may have started not as a way to describe the world, but as a way to describe each other. The world came later, but language didn't arrive complete and functional. For thousands of years, it probably existed somewhere between what we'd recognize as speech and something far older and stranger. Think about the sounds humans make before language kicks in. A baby crying, a crowd laughing, a scream, a gasp. These sounds are understood instantly across every culture on Earth with no translation required. They're the oldest part of human communication by far. Language likely grew on top of this ancient emotional layer, the way new software installs itself over an older operating system without ever quite replacing it. And here's what's interesting. Every human society on Earth, no matter how isolated, has music. Lullabies exist everywhere. Rhythm exists everywhere. Humans respond to melody and beat before they understand a single word. Some researchers now believe early proto-language was far closer to music than to modern speech. Emotional, rhythmic, communal, sung more than spoken. You weren't born talking. You were born feeling, and feeling learned to wear words later. Then fire changed the equation entirely. For most of human prehistory, night was dangerous. You stayed quiet after dark. Movement attracted predators. The darkness enforced tense, alert silence across ancient camps. But fire didn't just provide warmth. Fire bought time. Anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer societies found something striking. During the daytime, conversation is mostly practical. Hunting logistics, food, movement plans. But at night, beside fire, conversation transforms. People tell stories. They describe the past and imagine the future. They create heroes, spirits, villains, and impossible worlds. Roughly 80% of nighttime campfire conversation in hunter-gatherer groups involves narrative storytelling, not information exchange. Campfire safety may have been the evolutionary pressure that pushed early human vocalization from social bonding calls into fully symbolic, narrative speech. Suddenly, language could describe things that weren't physically present. A hunt that happened years ago. A danger a child had never seen. A spirit that lived in the mountain. Abstract thought didn't emerge because humans became suddenly smarter. It emerged because humans finally had enough safety and warmth to sit still and experiment with making sounds mean things. Scientists found further evidence for all of this in 2001 when researchers identified a gene called FOXP2. When this gene is disrupted in humans, it causes severe language impairments. People struggle to form words and control the precise, rapid muscle movements that speech demands. Other animals carry versions of this gene, but the human variant contains specific mutations found nowhere else in the primate family tree. Mutations that appear to have been under intense evolutionary selection, meaning humans with better FOXP2 function survived longer and produced more children. Evolution didn't just permit language. Evolution pushed toward it aggressively, which suggests that at some point in human prehistory, language became so critical to survival that it rewired human genetics to support it faster. Think about what that means. A skill that began as gossip beside a campfire eventually became encoded into human DNA. And here's the strangest part of all. Writing is only about 5,000 years old. For the overwhelming majority of human existence, hundreds of thousands of years, language had no physical form whatsoever. No letters, no symbols, no marks on any surface. It existed entirely as sound waves moving through the air between mouths and ears. Every piece of knowledge humans passed down across generations, every survival technique, every story about the past, every warning about the future, every belief about what happened after death, existed only in the act of speaking and listening. It lived in people, and when those people died, it almost died with them. Language is the most fragile, most invisible, most powerful technology the human species has ever accidentally created. Here's what that means for you right now. The voice inside your head, the one narrating these sentences as you hear them, that voice did not come from you. It came from thousands of years of accumulated accident. From a primate's throat that descended too far. From social anxiety around a growing group. From nights made safe by fire. From the slow, unconscious rewiring of a brain that needed to keep track of who could be trusted. Your most private thoughts exist in a language you didn't invent, built from words created by strangers who died thousands of years ago, structured by rules you absorbed before you could walk. You think in borrowed words. And somewhere in deep prehistory, huddled around a fire in the dark, A group of early humans began making sounds that meant slightly more than sounds had ever meant before. They weren't trying to invent language. They were trying to stay warm, stay safe, keep each other close enough to survive. Language was just what happened when they did.